That's a fair point. Arsenal supporter, I was in the Footy Judge Mo chat the other day. Yeah, he reckons a Rice, Merino, Odegaard midfield is good enough to win the league. Discuss. Well, that was our next talking point, gents. Was going to be very much. AFTV put this out today. There's some reports doing the rounds in Spain that Merino to Arsenal will be a deal that sort of gets formalized after the final this weekend. Thoughts on him as a player and how he would adapt to the Premier League? And look at this super chat. Would that be a good enough midfield to win the English Premier League?
I mean, technically, the midfield they have has been a good enough midfield to win the league. They didn't, because good enough doesn't always. It depends. Do you want good enough to win the league, or do you want to sign the best possible players that are gonna, make you a favorite, make you one of the top teams, rather than good enough? Because I think most people agree they've been good enough. So they're going from good enough to good enough. I guess Merino is going to be a replacement for Partey, right? If I'm not mistaken, he's going to be there. Yeah. So that's an upgrade anyway. Yeah, it's an upgrade because Partey's never fit, and then they're having to make shift. He's trying to put like Havertz in there at times, and so yeah, I think it's an improvement. Is it like a drastic improvement to take? Time will tell. Like I said, I think he's a quality player, and he is someone who can pick out a forward pass and things like that, and who can play balls into the channel. So, I think it's a decent signing. But like I said, it's not going to be if you're saying if the guy's like, yeah, that's good enough. I don't think that's the mindset they want to have.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I was watching Real Sociedad football last season. But from the little bits that I've seen of him in the Euros, he's been decent. What's it called? The main thing is they need a Partey replacement, and he's going to be that player that replaces Partey in the midfield. And he's kind of experienced. Like, he's not one of these young players. I believe he's like 27, 28. So he comes in and he kind of like becomes one of the senior players already, because that Arsenal team is pretty young still. So he comes in and helps them in a position that they need strengthening in. I was talking to Dan Potts yesterday. I actually accidentally called him Dan Lawless, and he told me not to disrespect him like that again. So I think you need to have a word for him.
No, the first Dan that comes to mind. That's what
it is. But I was telling him, I was like, that's one area that I feel like they're weak on. They haven't spoken about much. It's all like, oh, we need a striker. Oh, we need a winger to back up Saka. Oh, they're on Calafiori. Oh, we're going for a third goalkeeper. I'm like, bro, are you guys not going to get a midfielder? Because that's the biggest issue you have. You have Jorginho and Partey in that position. You need to strengthen that position. You have Partey, who's made out of glass, and Jorginho, who was never a physical player to begin with, and his best days are behind him. So you need legs, and you need more reliability in that position. I heard people talking about Joshua Kimmich, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Joshua Kimmich, his best position has always been right back. To bring in Kimmich to do that job in the midfield, no chance. He wouldn't do that Partey job. He's a completely different profile.
The timing of that, and where the super chats come up of Logan saying I'd prefer Kimmich.
There you go. Then see, like, because they said the same thing yesterday. Pot said the same thing yesterday. He said he wanted Kimmich. I'm like, well, you don't really want Kimmich, but I don't think you need Kimmich, because Kimmich is not that amazing six. Like, he played as a six for Bayern. Don't get me wrong, but his best position has always been right back. So I don't think that's what they need. But yeah, if Moreno is what they're going for, I like the signing. I like the profile that he is. I don't know how much he would cost though, so maybe we'll talk about that. But yeah, it is
like 25 million euros or something. I saw 25 million to 30 million euros. 25 million 30? Euros. 25 to 30 million euros.
Oh, that's a good price then. Yeah, that's a very good price. Yeah, I like that signing for them. I know it's not gonna make a lot of fans happy. I know what's gonna happen with this Arsenal fan base. So most of them are going to glaze him, and the second half are going to be like, oh, we need big names. You guys said if we get Champions League football, we can attract world-class players. He is not world-class. I already know that's going to happen.
He's probably a signing they could have made in the Europa League, to be fair. So I do hear that.
Yeah, but are you talking about now or like a few years ago?
No, I'm saying even when they was in the Europa League like a few years ago.
I don't know, because the Euro really bumps up a lot of stocks. When you look at the Spanish team as an example, a lot of stocks have went up. Nico Williams, obviously Yamal's stocks were always going up. Dani Olmo, Fabian Ruiz, pretty much everyone in that midfield stocks went up. So when you're getting one of the players that have played the best football in the Euros, and we all know they're going to go for good prices, and you're getting one of them for 30 million, I don't know. That's not the worst business in the world, in my opinion. And we all know Arteta likes to sign a Spanish midfielder. So I don't know. I like this signing. I like it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hey, you're the Arsenal fan. Tell us.
How do you feel?
Look, I'm a little bit like, I don't know enough about him. Does that make sense? So it's one of those things where I'm never going to sit there and wax lyrical and say it's amazing and say it's crazy and oh my god, this is brilliant. But sometimes these types of signings, I remember when they went for Odegaard, we were all more familiar with Odegaard because of how young he was when he joined Real Madrid. But if you remove that facet of Odegaard, if he would have always been at Real Madrid or hadn't been bought as like a 14, 15-year-old and wasn't a prodigy, and you sort of, Arsenal are loaning some guy that was at Madrid that never plays for them. He's gone, I think he went Sociedad himself, didn't he? But like he went Sociedad, then he came here on loan. You'd have been relatively underwhelmed by it as an example. There are a lot of people that felt spending £100 million on Declan Rice was an absolute waste of money because he was an overhyped, bang average English football player. There's many that thought Saliba was rubbish. That's why he was loaned for the first few years. The laughter at Arsenal when they spent £50 million on Ben White is now comical when you look back at it. They were ridiculed for going after David Raya. Doesn't mean every single signing has come off. I just don't the vast majority of first team players that Arsenal have signed have done quite well in the last 3 or 4 years. Fabio Vieira hasn't reached the levels, but he was never a first team player that came in. He's probably the one expensive signing where you go, hasn't really quite done it. You could maybe look at the Gabriels and the Zinchenko's, but I almost feel there's an element there that the Arsenal team has almost grown so quickly, they've almost gone beyond those players rather than not being successful. So I'm not going to sit here and slag the player off because I'm not particularly familiar with him. But speaking to a few people that watch La Liga regularly, a lot of people think he's more important to Real Sociedad than Zubimendi. So I'm only going by people that watch that league regularly and have more knowledge than me. And like in life, you can only really be educated by the people that know more than you. And they're like, it's a good deal for Arsenal. He's more important to Real Sociedad than X, Y, and Z. There may just not be the hype around him as an example. So do I look at it and go, wow, it's groundbreaking, it makes Arsenal scary or more potent? No. But is that just because I don't know much about the player? Potentially. But potentially that's what it is. But everyone's going to know who he is after this link, whether Arsenal get him or not, because his name's been now thrown out into the media. So you might probably see a lot more attention. If this time next year, Liverpool are buying him, or West Ham are buying him, or United are, everyone will say, well, he must be good. Arsenal were linked to him last year. So yeah, I'm really indifferent about it, if that makes sense. I get why people would want Kimmich, because we know who he is and we know more about him and everything else. But there's a lot of good reports about Merino. So we'll see how it plans out. There's not a lot of talk coming out of Arsenal at the minute. And there are some reports that they may not go for another attacker. What do you all make of that? Should that be an area of priority, in your opinion, for Arsenal, an attacker?
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation a few times about, how much goals they've scored last season and do they really need a striker? But I still think, like I said, if you're complacent in that area, you can't just constantly rely on getting multiple goals from different positions on the pitch. Yep, if they're continuing to be good on set pieces, I don't think you often see teams go from season on season being like the best set piece team. You look at West Ham, you look at Liverpool when we were up there, we dropped down massively. You just from a sustainability standpoint, I still think they should have a focal point up there, like a really solid focal point. Everyone's saying, Havertz was decent last season, he can only get better. That's in theory. We haven't seen that from Havertz really in his career since coming to the Premier League. So I think if I was them, I would try and go out and get a forward. But if they don't, it's not the end of the world. They just need to make sure them other positions they're signing are top quality. you know what I mean? It's fine. Merino, yeah, fine signing, but you don't want to fill the whole squad with those sorts of signings. You need to start to get big quality.
Who are these attackers?
Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't it funny, Staffy? Because when we ask you these questions about managers, I'm not a scout. I don't get paid all this money to go and scout their players and scout their managers, and I haven't got access. Isn't that what you say? And now you're turning it around on me.
All right. So I was asking a genuine question, by the way. I wasn't trying to catch you out.
No, but I'm just
asking someone. But you have an opinion about them needing to sign strikers, and I like to think that we know more players than we do know managers, because every squad has about 26 players, whereas it has one manager. So there's more players out there. It was a genuine question.
No,
I just want to know, who do you rate? Because I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans saying, this is where I was leading up to, but I'll remember this, Lawless. Don't worry about it.
No, but when we ask you about what managers you get, that's a genuine question as well.
But managers is different than players. It's completely different.
Listen,
I could say sack a manager because he's doing a bad job, and if your counter is like, but who do you replace? It's different than you saying, oh, this team needs to get a striker. But then I'm asking, okay, like give me one or two. And I feel like there's more access to players than that. But anyways, the reason I was asking that.
So I would say Watkins, like throw the money, get a what.
See, so why didn't you say that from the beginning? No, why did you say so defensive?
I just wanted to troll you because of what you say when we say what manager would you get. I just wanted to that was my chance. That was my time to shine and throw that back in your face. But Watkins, even though these players are Watkins and Isak, they're going to be expensive, going to be hard to get. Apparently, Watkins is an Arsenal player, which the Arsenal fans were quick to point out when he scored that goal. Like they got some sort of achievement. But you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, that can have a factor in it. If they're approaching Watkins and he supports the club, they see what they've been doing in challenging for the league, and he can be a big part of that. And he knows like he's going to be likely to start because let's be honest, he's better than Havertz. Go out and put the pressure on and get him. Yeah, just because it might Villa won't want to sell, it's going to be difficult. Don't mean you go, we probably won't get him. Do you know what I mean? You know what they say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So go for an Isak or a Watkins. If they get one of them players in, I would turn around and put them favourites to the league. I would.
So I don't think they'll sign Watkins, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I don't think Arteta even wants Watkins. I still think he wants Havertz. I've said it all year. I said he will be here next year, even though people said they need a striker.
He wants Havertz over Watkins. Jeez.
He loves Havertz. He just, for what he wants from his striker, he's using Havertz. Secondly, Villa just sold Douglas Luiz, and they're about to sell Moussa Diaby to Saudi Arabia for about 60 mil. So they already made their money, and they made Champions League money. So they don't really need to sell. So I highly, highly, highly doubt they'll sell Watkins to anyone. Secondly,
if the player puts the pressure on, that's what I'm saying. If they get player pressure to come in and they, like
that would be distasteful of him, wouldn't it? Because like
Grealish did it, and he was like their academy boy. He was Mr. Villa. If Grealish can do it, surely Watkins can do it.
Yeah, no, but like they just made Champions League, so just to me, just seems very weird that like after like the good season that they had, and they're strengthening rather than anything, and they already made their money. I highly doubt that they're going to sell their best players. Douglas Luiz was a little bit different because him and his girl were trying to move to UV anyways. But it's like, I don't even think they need a Watkins. And I said this to some Arsenal fans before, and I stand on that. If anything, they probably need a left winger. I don't think you need a striker. And there's no strikers out there that score 30 goals a season. Everyone's like, go get me a 30 goal a season striker. Did you see the state of the strikers in the Euros, by the way? This is probably the worst Euros in terms of strikers that I've ever seen. We have 8 players tied for the Golden Boot. Most of them are not even strikers.
I don't think that's because of the players, though. I think that's because of the approaches to the games, though, that teams have been making. It's been a lot more cagey.
Yeah, but no one stood out. Like there's a lot of standout players, but name me one standout striker. Mbappe, bad tournament. Kane, funny enough, Kane has 4 goals, but no one even thinks he had a good tournament. So it's crazy that he might win the Golden Boot, but everyone thinks, hey, maybe we should drop him for the final. I've never heard of anything like that before. It just shows you how bad his season has been. Then you look at who else. Morata, who has the most goals in internationals after Ronaldo in this Euro. He scored like, 1 goal? I don't even remember if he scored a goal or not. Ronaldo obviously stunk it out. Lukaku stunk it out. Bro, there's no standout strikers right now. There's really not. This is why
I don't think that's an indication of the market of strikers. Say yes, look, there's no.
But that's what I'm saying. There's no 30-goal strikers season striker out there for everyone who says like the one that you want to get is like Watkins and Isak. And let's just be honest, no one is paying that amount of money for them. You know, this is why you're seeing everyone linked with the likes of Sesko and Xerxes and all these players, because we're like everyone's trying to find like, okay, like who's the next 30-goal a season striker, I should say. You know, even though like I don't think Xerxes will be that, but like he has the potential to be a very good striker. That's what I'm trying to say. Sesko was the same thing, you know. So everyone's trying to look for like young, good upcoming strikers or the next striker up, because like the market of strikers right now, there's none of these 30-goal strikers that everyone's talking about. I feel like people were just saying it, but they're not actually checking the stats. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't see who this attacker is. I don't think Arsenal, after scoring 100-something goals last season, look at their squad and they're like, you know what, we're missing next season. We miss a goal scorer. Like, no, you scored the second most goals in the league after City.
Yeah,
you didn't
I
lose
think
the league because
where they need to be careful. Sorry, Sam, I didn't mean to interject. I think where they've got to be careful is that you drop £100 million on a player that doesn't elevate you to that next level, and then when that said person that could elevate you is available, you don't have the funds for it because you've invested in somebody that isn't quite up to the task. But I still think they might go back in for the Gyökeres. That's still. I feel like Arsenal are just being very cagey and very quiet with the business that they're doing. When the Calafiori deal first came out, it was low-level Italian press speaking about it. No mainstream media outlets were, and then suddenly Fabrizio and Ornstein spoke about it. Outside of that deal, it's been very, very, very quiet for Arsenal thus far. I don't think that's because they're not going to do any business. I think it's because they're keeping their cards very, very close to their chest. But I do think they need an attacker of some sort. I don't think it has to be a number 9. I think it needs to try and add some more goals and competition in that area. There's a comment here that says Merino